isn't working right. I guess I got to do it this way. I thought, nope, it is not gonna. All right, there we go. This is so. This is a little bit of a test on some some streaming. I tried with my other phone that I usually do videos on, but it for some reason the audio cut out, and I don't know. I was having a lot of difficulties. Um, I guess it's this way. Is it this way? No, orientation is locked. Rotate. No. Okay, so um, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because I am figuring things out, trying to get the best resolution, the best everything that I can get. And this is obviously Will Eisner's book that I reviewed or went over the other day, yesterday. Check out the video. And if you like Will Eisner, which if you don't like Will Eisner, then I don't know what's wrong with you because he's a fantastic artist. But today we're doing and I don't know if I can see any comments or anything. So if I can't see comments or if I don't respond to you, then that it's a comment that I can't see. Anyway, we're going to be reading. I'm going to just show you random access. You can get this at patreon.com/Alex Turbin. And it's an anthology that I put out with a whole bunch of different artists. And so just check it out at Patreon. This is more about testing what we're doing with the streaming, because as we get closer to 1,000 subscribers, and as we get closer to 2,000 watch hours, then the closer I get to getting members. And when I get members, then I'm going to offer members the same random access thing that I do from Patreon. So hopefully that gets sparks some interest there. But also I'm just going to want to be able to do some streaming, and I can't do it with my other phone, unfortunately. So this is from the year, I don't know what year this is from, but it's Gilbert Hernandez, the brother of Jaime Hernandez. And as you can see, this book is really falling apart. I'm trying to see what year it came out. It came out in 87. So it's pretty well worn. The introduction is by Alan Moore. So maybe I'm going to start with the introduction. Usually I don't like to what am I saying? I don't like to read this kind of stuff. I love reading this kind of stuff, but a lot of people don't. And who doesn't read introductions? If you guys get graphic novels, trade paperbacks, whatever, do you read the introduction? I really would like to hear from you guys. Do you just skip the intro? I first heard about Alan Moore by his introduction of Grendel. So, you know, that's just me, and that's how I found out about it. So introduction can do a lot about a lot of things. But let's read this, and then, I mean, I don't know how many pages we'll get into. Maybe we'll just read the introduction, and that'll be it, because it is 2 long pages, and I don't know how long I want this stream to be or anything. And, it's Christmas time, so I've got some wrapping to do. But I wanted to try this and see if the audio comes out good. Please let me know if the audio is good, if the video is okay, or whatever, because I really need to figure this stuff out, or I'd like to anyway. Give myself a little swig before I dive into the narration. Like I said, it's from 1987, and it's from Gilbert Hernandez, Heartbreak, Soup, and Other Stories. And it's one of my favorite graphic novels. But this is from Alan Moore. Introduction by Alan Moore. Let's try to get this in the middle of the thing. As we are informed so often in the media of late, the new comics are here. Over the last couple of years, enough genuinely interesting titles have sprung up from the genuinely mundane and moribund mass of the comics mainstream to provoke rumors of a renaissance. The comic strip seems to be teetering on the verge of both a new mass acceptance and a quantum leap in terms of quality. And yet, if we look through the material under discussion, leaving aside the hype and adrenaline, what do we find? We find a few superhero fantasy titles in which the quality of writing in the graphic industry has been refined to a standard well above the admittedly low standards of that particular genre. That isn't to take anything away from the accomplishment of a work like Dark Knight or, God knows, Watchmen. Rather, it is an attempt to put them in perspective. They are very good superhero comics. The novelty of what is such an apparent contradiction in terms has probably been responsible for bringing a lot of the popular critical attention and the subsequent influx of new readers that comics have enjoyed of late. But novelty seems a fickle phenomenon to hang the aspirations of an entire medium upon. Simply put, the vast potential audience for comics that allegedly waits out there cannot be expected to endlessly endure the same procession of capes and masks that the semi addicted and thus more forgiving hardcore comic book reader has accepted over the past 40 years. Whatever contemporary nuances we might choose to update the superhero basic wardrobe with, at the end of the day, we still have a superhero comic, with all of the limitations that that term implies. If comic books seriously hope to establish themselves amid the media monsoon of the 80s and 90s, they must make the effort to go beyond such artificial boundaries. They must stake out new territories with a breadth more suited to the demands of the times. In my opinion, when all the dust and the flavor of the month furor have been allowed to settle, one of the names that most likely to emerge as a genuinely innovative force within the field is that of Gilbert Hernandez, author and artist of this current volume, the part of the breathtaking family enterprise that is Love and Rockets, along with equally talented siblings Jamie and less frequently Mario. When this black and white anthology title burst like a single signal flare over the comic book landscape a few short years ago, its impact was profound and immediate. Delivering Deliberately avoiding the proven, popular, and profitable content of the teenage superhero teen books, Love and Rockets has never been one of the industry's best-selling titles, but it has remained consistently among the very best reading and the medium has to offer. I love how he says the reading that the medium has to offer. I'm reading it. The material within is, without exception, intelligent, stylish, and charged with a raw, visceral impact that other media only occasionally provide. Above all, the work in Love and Rockets rewards the attentions of a more serious and mature reader because it is challenging and nowhere more than in the work collected in this volume. In Heartbreak Soup, Gilbert Hernandez has produced a comic strip which, for its effect, depends upon an entirely different set of principles than those usually applied to mainstream American comics. Even more than Brother Jamie, who to a degree revels in reworking the icons and symbols of the comic book trash culture in his Locust storylines. Gilbert is drawing upon sources which to the traditional comic book fan must seem alien and obscure. In his use of solid black and in the kinetic fury of his characters, it is possible to see the influence of the Japanese manga cartoonists at work. Elsewhere, the boldness of his compositions evoke the current crop of European bande dessinée. I don't know what that is. Dessinée? Merchants in its use of open space. Maybe he's talking about Mobius. Somehow, these diverse sensibilities are then brought to bear upon the everyday events of a small and impoverished Mexican community. The end result being a strip that is certainly the most emotionally powerful and perhaps also the most skillfully written offering currently available. For its subject matter, Heartbreak Soup focuses unblinkingly upon the lives of people who are painfully ordinary and, in a comic book marketplace dominated by mutants, man-machines, and martial arts mercenaries. Even mundane, it presents a storyline where the lives and doings of even the most minor background characters become so engrossing in their perfect observation that the idea of there being some heroic main character for the strip to revolve around. Oops, there goes the page. Becomes absurd, scuttling the main tenet of most contemporary comic books in one. More than this, the strip seems to resoundingly reject all of the religiously observed dramatic rules which our industry has used to smother itself over the past few decades. The drama is never artificial or overstated. It doesn't come from barely credible menaces or villains imposing threats upon the characters from the outside, but from the twists and contradictions of the characters' own lives. It doesn't contort itself to fit the spurious demands of a climax or cliffhanger every issue, but mirrors life faithfully in its meanderings without feeling the need to try and enhance it with the use of a melodrama. Any meaning or moral inference is something that grows naturally from the work, rather than some shallow and obvious homely tacked onto the end of the fight scene as an afterthought. Having so recklessly cast aside the various narrative crutches that comics writers have used to give their enfeebled creations the illusion of mobility over the years, one might expect the resultant work to collapse into a muddy, naturalistic morass of trivia and tedium, like someone else's holiday slides. But it doesn't. Indeed, it's in the sheer level of interest and fascination that his creations excite that Gilbert pulls off his neatest trick. You see, whereas most comic book artisans have seem to have so little respect for their workings and mechanisms of ordinary human life that they feel compelled to improve upon it with psionic powers. I love psionic powers. Gilbert Hernandez had made Heartbreak Soup almost a celebration of ordinariness, as well as a keen and compassionate investigation into all the rich stands of love, hate, strength, and weakness that this commonplace and allegedly dull state of experience is in fact composed of. Rather than wasting his time detailing the exploits of yet another hero whose vast powers of astonishing virtue, colorful costumes, and predictable personality problems still manage to add up to something considerably less than even the most banal and wretchedly real human being. He has done the exact opposite. Instead of implying that the only real heroism comes from with transcendence into a superhuman state of grace, Hernandez uses a genuinely poetic eye to show us all the rich and shadowy passions that surge behind the bland facade of normal life. Instead of having our own human worthlessness underlined by its comparison with the gleaming accomplishment of some atom-powered survivor from the planet Zob, we come away with the feeling of having seen our own world through other eyes, of having glimpsed a worldview far more poignant and meaningful than that provided by any amount of pyrotechnics and paranormal posturing. In the pages of Heartbreak Soup, Gilbert Hernandez shows us little of what humans are actually worth, and while some of it, predictably, is bad news, there are moments of understated optimism and are both touching and illuminating. There is the nativity of innocence of Heraclio through his boyhood in the title story to his adult anxieties in the mystery when there's the awkward and clumsy romance between Luba and Archie in active contrition and blood-thick boyhood camaraderie that leads to the desperate mountain trek of the Laughing Sun. There's something here that has meaning far beyond the contrived intricacies of the interchangeable plots still dominating the marketplace. Heartbreak Soup, like the better punk bands and Annie Garcia Marquez novel, says something real. It is this ability to unerringly touch upon the sore and tender places of people's existence that separates Gilbert's work from the superhero revival pieces mentioned as the onset of this introduction. It is also precisely this quality, this depth of integrity that the new comics must aspire to if they are going to have any lasting worth once the more faddish aspects of their current ascendancy wears off to be replaced by next year's hula hoop instead. The territory, the unbroken ground that I referred to earlier, is heroin opened up and lies waiting for those courageous enough to explore and develop it. If there is any hope for comics at all in the future, we must hope that hope both that enough people take their lead from this extraordinary book that its author continues his spirited incursions upon the dark interior of the comic book continent. If his explorations ever again unearth anything as fruitful as this current volume, we shall have cause indeed to be grateful. Until then, we could do far worse than to fortify ourselves with this glimpse of comic book heaven to come, to warm ourselves with these strong and heady draughts of heartbreak soup. Alan Moore. So I agree with him. He used way too many superhero references, and it kind of lays bare his loathing of the superhero genre, which I kind of feel sometimes. But I really only feel that after I've read something like Heartbreak Soup. It it when you read something like this, it's almost like watching like Lord of the Rings, which is fantastic. I love it. Um, and then, or no, not so much Lord of the Rings because that's pretty intellectual. I would call that intellectual. I would say it's something like watching your favorite Marvel movie, whichever that is, and oh, maybe I just need to move the thing. Um, let's try that. See if that does. See if that does anything. Oh yeah. You know what? That's how we're gonna do things from now on. Um, when I'm trying to stream, I guess that's what I'll do. Although it doesn't seem to be getting focused at all. But I think that this is done in 1987 and 86, as a lot of people know, is when the really the comic book industry changed with Dark Knight and Watchmen and so many other fantastic works that came out. That really, this is like you said, Love and Rockets is a more fiction-y kind of thing than it is a superhero thing, and he really goes off on superheroes, and I don't really think that it deserves that. There's a lot of superhero stuff that I love. I mean, I love all of the X-Men, I love all the Daredevil, I love all the Thor. Well, not all of it, but when creators do something really fantastic, I love that stuff. So I don't know. It's what he's saying though. It is true. Comic books had to break away, or a certain section had to break away from the superhero genre and go into this kind of stuff, just the fiction. I'm sure I don't know when Mouse came out, but I think it was actually shortly after this. But I mean, you've got Mouse, you've got an eternal amount of indie comics that came out after this, and you know you've got Yummy Fur, you've got Hate, you've got all of these things that are really amazing non superhero comics, and that's what this is. I mean, there's the Road to Perdition that I reviewed just last week or last month or whatever, and it's completely different. So the different variety of comics that we have is super important. It was super important then. It is super important now, and so that's pretty much exactly what he's saying. And hopefully, I hope that Alan Moore, in all of his contrivedness with yeah, I don't know if I think I used that word right, but I don't know if he has come to terms with that, and I don't know if he's explored the indie comics scene that he should have. If he's looking for indie comics, then you go look for indie comics. I mean, these are barely indie comics. These are 80s indie comics are different than 90s indie comics, which is different than 2000 indie comics. So, I mean, I hope he's looked into some other stuff and that he's happy with some of the stuff that he's found. But we will see. I don't know. Alan Moore's kind of gets stuck in his way of thinking, I guess. But anyway, this is a test. Hopefully the sound comes out properly and good. Hopefully I'm loud enough. Hopefully the lighting is good. And if it isn't, then I'll just scrap the video and try something else because I really like doing these live streams. And hopefully next time you guys will join me. Hopefully you have some questions or something. But anyway, thanks for watching. And we will definitely actually get into reading Heartbreak Soup next time. maybe Tuesday, hopefully Tuesday, we can get into that because it is, like Alan Moore said, it's a fantastic read, and it's about the writing as much as the artwork. So anyway, until then, thanks for watching and keep on creating.